Good evening, friends. Tonight's tale comes from the smoke-filled streets of Chicago, where a single song may hold the key to a man's final secret. This is the last song of Ethan Russo. Welcome to Radio Theater. Some cities build monuments out of marble, hoping stone will outlast their sins. Chicago didn't bother. Chicago built legends, then ground them into the pavement. Most ended up as floaters in the gray river, ghosts in Joliet, or cautionary tales at the bottom of a bottle. But every now and then, a name clawed its way out of the smoke. In the winter of 1929, that name was Ethan Russo. If you had a pulse and a drink near the Loop, you knew him. He wasn't a star with a tuxedo and a radio deal, not yet anyway. New York had a few of his songs on record, and New Orleans knew whispers of his talent. But in Chicago, Ethan Russo was the man people came to see when they wanted to feel alive. The room could be half empty, the air thick with wet wool, the band incapable of finding the beat.
None of it mattered the second Ethan touched those ivory keys.
He possessed a dangerous magnetism. When he played, the room went dead silent.
When he smiled, people forgave his worst sins.
And when he walked into a room, trouble followed.
Women adored him, men envied him.
Club owners fought over his calendar, and musicians copied him while cursing his name.
Ethan never seemed to care.
Perhaps that was why the city loved him, or perhaps it was because he always looked like a man trying to outrun a shadow. He wasn't a saint.
He'd share a cigarette with a janitor on a crate behind the alley gates, but he had a fatal weakness for bad decisions.
More than one husband wanted him dead, and more than one bootlegger wanted to knock his teeth out. Then came Evelyn Whitmore. The Whitmores lived in grand estates on Lakeshore Drive.
They were old money, the kind of family that shook hands with mayors and senators behind closed doors.
Evelyn first approached him after a grueling set at a basement dive.
She stood at the stage in a silk dress that cost more than all of the club's juice combined.
She asked if he ever took requests.
Ethan didn't look up from lighting his cigarette.
He just blew a ring of smoke and gave her a crooked grin.
Depends, doll.
Is it a request or an order from the throne?
She laughed. Her laugh was the beginning.
By the end of the year, they were inseparable. The city talked, of course. Some said she was slumming. Others said he was chasing money.
Neither cared.
For a brief window, they looked happy, at least as happy as a man like Ethan Russo ever allowed himself to be. Then the December freeze hit, turning cobblestones to iron.
On a Friday night, Ethan took the stage at Benny Katz's club.
The place was packed. Politicians sat beside gamblers, and bootleggers rubbed elbows with businessmen while glasses disappeared whenever a blue uniform passed the windows. Witnesses swore it was the finest performance of his life.
It felt brutally honest,
like a man tearing out his own ribs to show the crowd what was inside. An old trumpet player whispered that it sounded like Ethan was saying goodbye.
Near midnight, the final chord hung in the air like smoke.
Ethan thanked the crowd and kissed Evelyn on the cheek. Then he slipped through the velvet curtain backstage.
By dawn, the police had a body in a closed case.
Suicide, they called it.
But the city was rushing to bury a truth it didn't want to face.
While the newspapers ran the headlines and the police closed the book,
Evelyn Whitmore sat in the sudden, deafening quiet of an empty apartment.
She didn't shed a tear. She just stared at the empty piano bench, knowing that the man she loved hadn't walked away on his own. Chicago thought it had witnessed the final act of Ethan Russo. But some stories refuse to end with a curtain call, and a devastating secret was about to turn the city's convenient lie into its most dangerous problem. Well, folks, that's where tonight's broadcast leaves us. But the mystery is far from over. If you'd care to follow the trail, subscribe and keep a place for us on your dial. The next chapter is waiting somewhere beyond the smoke and midnight rain. Until our next rendezvous, this is your radio theater host wishing you good evening. And remember, every city has its stories. You simply have to know where to listen.